and you work for them, and you have never questioned the history of Dr. Fauci. You have never questioned all of his suggestions over the years. Do you know his track record? Do you know all the things that this man has suggested that have not worked? Not recently. I'm talking about all the way back to the 1980s and 90s when he became one of the individuals who became America's doctor. You need to research the people who you work for and with so that you know that you may be a party to the destruction of your people unwittingly, unknowingly, unintentionally. And too many black folks help to destroy their own people and their culture. Mexicans, Jewish people, white people even help to destroy their own people without even knowing it, because they go along with a damn script that was pre-written by someone who does not have their better interest at hand.
So what is the purpose then? What is the purpose then of them worldwide and putting talking heads up for all of us then?
Absolutely. And I love this argument as well. This is why they don't like to have your brother on. There was an advisor to President Jimmy Carter by the name of Zbigniew Brzezinski. He stated that in earlier times, quote, I
just want to say, if you ever end up on Jeopardy, you win in the whole thing.
Zbigniew Brzezinski particularly said, quote, in earlier times, it was easier to control 1 million people than to physically kill 1 million people. But in today's time, it is infinitely easier to kill 1 million people than it is to control, end quote. Global 2000 was authorized under President Jimmy Carter. In Global 2000, which is a government policy, you can go ahead and look this up. It specifies how to use food as a weapon and how to use reproductive services as a weapon. If you go back to Dr. Henry Kissinger in 1974, who was the 32nd Secretary of State under President Richard Nixon in Gerald Ford, Chapter 6, he specified, quote, depopulation should be the highest priority of U.S. foreign policy towards the third world, end quote. They specified that the population is outgrowing our ability to control them. And so at this point, do you think that a government is interested in having people stand up against them interracially, interreligiously, interconnected culturally, and you think they're not going to do something about it?
Well, we're back once again on the Chatterbox with yours truly, King Jacob. This is a terrific Tuesday, I might add. Any day above ground, no matter what day it is, it's definitely a blessed day. Oh, yeah. So we have another star-studded episode with a special guest who represents the young generation, might I add. And so, none other, man. I met this young man. Somebody tagged me in a post, and we've been kicking it ever since. So I'm grateful that I get a chance to really interview him and get more insight on who he is and what he represents when it comes to his brand. So without further ado, I'll let the special guest of the evening introduce himself. Go ahead, young man. You have the floor.
No, I appreciate it, man. I'm Jamarius Leaphart. I'm from South Carolina. I am an author. I am a singer-songwriter. I am a content creator. And I am your favorite internet cousin for sure. Yeah, that's who I am.
The favorite internet cousin, for sure. You heard that. The internet cousin.
Yeah.
And so, man, let's get into your story, man. And how did you understand that entertainment, creating content, becoming a 3X author, how did that come about? From a child, you kind of knew you had a gift, right?
Yeah, from a child. I was that child, 3 years old. I was singing in the choir with my aunties, with my grandmothers, with my cousins. I was singing in the adult choir 3. And I used to love to, singing was my passion. And as I got older, I began to really realize, like, I love singing. I love being in front of people. I love making people feel good, whether it's for 5, 10 minutes, 30 minutes. I just love making people feel good. And people started coming to me even at a young age. You just sound so good. This was before I learned how to actually sing right, the technicalities of singing. Like, this was like when I was just starting out, people were coming to me, older people, younger people. Oh my gosh, you just sound so, oh man, I felt it. Thank you so much. And then I didn't understand what it was. But as I got older, I started realizing, what it was. And it made me realize, okay, what can I do with this on a bigger level? And then as I started studying, and I started realizing some things that made me passionate. And I love talking to people who feel like they don't have another chance or another choice but to do something outside of what God's will for us is. Because y'all know I'm a big believer in my Father. I love God, man, and just seeing my life now compared to the 10-year-old me, the 12-year-old me, the 6-year-old me, it's like I just know that God was with me that whole time, and He was literally giving me what I needed, the skill and the anointing to be able to do exactly what I am here to do now.
Okay, okay. So being from a small town and now you're living in LA, and so they have something
Yeah,
called a small town mentality, and
yeah.
a lot of people say it's the crabs in the barrel mentality. So when you took that leap of faith, I
Uh,
remember you telling me that you was gonna take this leap of faith, and when people really found out that you was taking that leap of faith, what was the reaction, or what did they actually say to you? You
you want to know
know,
the crazy part?
either to push you or to even discourage you.
The crazy part is I didn't tell anybody I was moving till like a week or two before I moved. Nobody knew but my grandfather. And the
Hmm.
reason why I didn't tell anybody was because I knew God told me to do it. And sometimes when God tells you to do stuff, it was this post that said when God called you, it wasn't a conference call. It was just a one-on-one call.
Right.
And sometimes people won't understand where you're going, where God is leading you. And I remember when He told me to do it, I auditioned for the school that I'm at now, the performing arts school that I'm at, and it was like, I don't think I'm gonna get in. That's California. It's so many people in California. I don't know. But I got the acceptance letter 2 days later. And God, the Holy Spirit, God told me, don't tell anybody. Have faith that I have you the whole way. And the whole way, everything I needed, God supplied, plus more. And that's how I knew it was nobody but God. And so I didn't tell anybody. Nobody knew my grandfather and my sister. Um, and once I started telling everybody about it, at that point, I didn't really care because I was going to do whatever I was going to do it at that point. But it was just, a lot of people were like, do it. I'm so happy. I've been told you to do this. What you have is so much bigger than what you are. Then, you do have those family members, friends who are like, you might want to stick it out a couple more years. You might want to wait a little bit. No, I can't. I know this is what I'm supposed to do. And so, yeah, to anybody who is battling that whether should I do it or should I stick to what people are saying, if you know God is telling you to do it. Because that's the only way you're going to ever see the promises is if you do what He tell you to do. Well, I got Uh-oh. Is it me? Is it? Oh, okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So, yeah, to anybody, just do what God tells you to do, even if it
Right.
looks crazy. Do it.
I can dig it. I can dig it, man. So, what is that experience like? Now you're out in LA and you're at the famous LA Art Institute, right?
I'm at Young Americans College of Performing Arts.
Young Americans College of
Yeah.
Performing Arts. Okay, okay. And so that's prestige. So, what is that experience like for you as far as being in that whole entertainment realm of a lot of professionals, professionals that they may take you guys to see, the
Yeah.
professors, the people that's been teaching for years, so what does that professionalism in being around those like-minded people do for you, as an up-and-coming, entertainer, author, content creator, creative writer.
Yeah. It has made me look at every entertainer with so much more respect because people will see these entertainers put on these great shows and they'll see them, get on the internet and make these um this great content, and they'll see them just be so polished, but they don't understand the work that comes up behind it. They don't understand the months, the tears, literally you feeling. Sometimes I've seen some people go so hard to where they get physically sick, and it has made me realize so much about the work ethic of what you have to do to be in this industry. But also it has helped me realize the mental ability and the mental discipline you have to have, because there's so many different opportunities, so many different things that you can do, and you have to make sure that you are staying in your purpose and not gearing off to do what you feel is right, but you have to do what you know is right. Because a lot of times people will offer you so many great things, and it's like, but that goes against my morals, that goes against my respect, that goes against my values. And so that I'm learning how to be very cautious with I allow, what opportunities I allow to come my way. Um, but I'm also being very intentional because the work that I'm about to put in, that I have put in this year, it doesn't even come close. The work that I have put in doesn't even come close to the work that I'm putting in this year because I've met so many people who have poured into me. There's no way that I can't turn my work ethic up a notch or two. Like Saturday, I met Mark Wahlberg, and a lot of people may know him because he was a very big talk show host in the '90s. He's worked at the Dick Clark um, production companies. He's had his own game shows, and he's now the host of Temptation Island on Netflix. And the amount of motivation, the amount of information that he poured into me Saturday alone, it's like sometimes you have to get away from what you're used to get what you really need. Because, like you said, the small town mentality, if you don't ever get out of that environment, you're going to continue in those same paths. And you won't learn anything. You won't be greater. And my father said something to me. These lights are motion sensors. So if y'all see them come on a lot, that's why. But my father said something to me so profound, and he told me, he said, "I've been told you years ago that you should have been out of here. What you have is so much bigger than where you are, and you will never see what you are dreaming if you stay here." Yeah, sometimes it's cool to stay, and build where you are, but most times God really wants to separate you so that you can really do what you were called to do. So yeah, this experience has been so amazing. It has built me in multiple ways, like my confidence, my courage, the way that I go about my brand, my business now, so different. So different because once you interacted with those high level of excellence, there's no way you can go back to being mediocre.
You're right. You're right. And it's funny you say that, man, because, I've had the chance to do a lot of traveling, to work with a lot of different people. You know, um, I've had a chance to get into some rooms, to be at some birthday parties, from, hanging out with Easy Time E from WPGC in Washington, D.C., to, being in Miami, Fort Lauderdale, Florida, or to even going up to New York, and back in the day when Faith Evans had her club, the Coffee
Right.
House, where she brought all independent artists for open mic and had coaches there and things of that nature. So I've had a chance to travel and meet a lot of different people, and once you kind of meet people, they pour into you, and
Yeah.
it's like a whole different vibe. Like and we see the vibe. We see the vibe through Fantasia, through Jennifer Hudson,
Yeah.
through people of that nature, and I just think, intellectually, mentally, and emotionally, you got to be prepared.
Oh
But
yeah.
your spiritual awakening and your
Yeah.
spiritual transition got to overtake all of that. You
Yeah.
know, uh, just to keep you afloat, just to keep you disciplined, just to keep you focused. And we have the Village Global Network tapping in, which I'm part of that network, and the operational, you know, director Kimmy K, who is one of the people that poured into me, one of the people that always pours into me and tell me that I'm great
Oh yeah.
and just tell me that you do so much, and I definitely appreciate that. Thank you for tapping in.
Yeah.
So with this being said, man, let's tap in on this.
Okay.
How did you become everybody's favorite internet cousin?
Oh.
Now,
Yeah.
when I first met you and I seen you post it was some content and then hashtag your favorite internet cousin. I said, man, we got cousins on the internet, and man, like is it a first cousin, second cousin, third cousin, a distant cousin, or a fourth cousin removed from grandma's side? What, like your favorite internet cousin? You know what I mean?
Yeah. So I started. I think it was like a little bit after COVID started, and I just started really typing out all of my thoughts on Facebook because we was all in the house, and I'm like, somebody got to hear what I got to say. So I started. I started typing a lot on Facebook, telling a lot of the stuff that I was just either God was downloading in my spirit because I was reading. We had to do something, so I was reading the Bible, and I was like, "Oh, I didn't notice that. Let me, And it was people, and then or either I would talk about being eating everything and feeling like feeling bigger. I know I done gained weight. Like I was just telling everything that was on my mind, and people who were in the Christian community started following me. People who were in like, just the younger ones who love to laugh, but they want to know more about God. They started following me. I started, um, I started doing a lot of motivational stuff. Like I was posting videos of myself talking about whatever, even some of that stuff I was dealing with myself, and I was just encouraging myself while posting videos to other people. And people started gravitating toward me. I was like, wait, whoa, wait. And so it was all the younger people, older people, and I didn't want to say I'm y'all uncle or I'm y'all brother because I knew that I would have respect for older people. So you know what? Kurt Franklin has your favorite uncle, your favorite cousin, your favorite brother. I said, your favorite internet cousin sound good. And so I just went along with that. And people, like, when I was even locally, people would walk, and when they would walk by me, they would say, "Hey, cousin, I don't know you." When I had to remember, oh, hey. And that's what it's about. It's about making people feel like you're family because sometimes people need that person that they can just say, "Hey, how was your day? Hey, I hope you have a good day. Hey, I love you." They need somebody where they can feel like they have a family, and especially in today's time. And I feel, not to toot my own horn, but I feel like I was ahead of my time on that because now people need that. People need that love. People need to feel like they have that family member they can come to, or that family member who can come and say, "Hey, I ain't got it together. You ain't got it together. Let's learn together." And that's what it's about: being relatable and being real. Because we have so many people on here who done made $1 million and they making they second $1 million now. We have people on here who owns four homes and 28 cars, and that's cool. But you also have people who are looking and they're like, man, I can just barely pay my rent. I need to feel like I'm seen. Or somebody who's a single parent who's working their behind off for them and their children. They want to feel seen. Or somebody who doesn't really know God but they want to get to know God and they don't know everything, but they don't want to feel judged. They want to feel seen. And so that's what I'm here for. And I tell everybody, every time people say, "Oh, I needed this" or whatever, I know God told me to post it, but I'm a servant. I'm obedient to God. Like although this has rendered me some great opportunities, I still give it all to God because He's the only one that gave me this gift. And I've been like this since I was a child. I was the kid who we was on the playground and somebody would come sit next to me on the swing and they would just tell me all their problems. I'm just and I'm just talking to them, telling them, well, just pray about it. No, God still loves you. Like I was that kid. I was that kid. So I grew up just using my gifts for social media for people who I probably will never meet, or if I meet them, are in different countries. So it's different states, different countries. So it's amazing what has happened with
Right, right,
just the favorite internet cousin phrase. I even
right.
had a pastor come to me one time and say, "Hey, internet cousin, oh man, thank you so much. Like that just gave me inspiration." I was like, "Whoa, whoa!" So it's like I, I just thank God that He gave me that idea because it has blessed a lot of people just to feel like I have a family in you.
Yeah, so it's a world famous tagline.
Yeah,
No, that's merch, t-shirts,
yeah,
everything. So,
yeah,
and I just want to ask you, and I'm so glad that I have somebody on here this evening representing the youth,
yeah,
because the youth to go through more things than most because they exposed to so much at a young age.
yeah.
And so, with being said, just from your opinion, you
Mhm.
know, the things that you see in your traveling your journey of life, why do you think the younger generation go through so much anxiety and depression?
Oh, that's a good question. I believe that this generation is fighting the same amount of anxiety and depression that the last generation fought.
Okay.
But the only difference is the last generation didn't know what it was. This generation does.
Hmm.
And that's why I'm so grateful that I'm able to, translate toward all ages, all races, because a lot of times we have to know that we may be different people, but we're all the same people on the same side of the coin, just different. We just have different lives. We have different paths. We all are going or fighting something. Like a lot of people may say, I've never had depression, I've never had anxiety before. But and I said this in my book as well. But a lot of us, we fight a lot of stuff. We call it spiritual. We call it demons when it's really depression. It's really anxiety. And we have to learn how to deal with the demons, but therapy and healing, self-healing deals with the aftermath of what those demons cause. And so I always tell people, and um I'm always very adamant about letting people know that you're not alone. But I do think this generation deals with depression at a rate that it does because we are exposed to a lot of stuff without the education of it.
Hmm.
TikTok, social, Instagram, and I love TikTok. I'll scroll TikTok for hours and hours. I love TikTok, but TikTok has exposed us to a lot of different layers of the world, and because a lot of the veils are opening, and because a lot of the information is becoming exposed, a lot of us are getting overwhelmed. And also, I'm not, y'all know I'm not afraid to say it because I say it all the time. A lot of us are trying to go through this life without God. The reason why the last generation held up so strong, and I can be very, very honest, that generation had a real belief that God was God. You know, that
Stop right
generation.
there. Stop right there. It's
Uh,
funny you say that. It's funny you just said that.
okay.
They gave Bishop Marvin Sapp, um, they gave him his Atlanta star, right? They
Mhm.
honored him in Atlanta.
Mhm.
And he said that, asked him how did he feel about hip hoppers remixing his music. Never would have made it. And so I didn't realize that Never Would Have Made It was #1
Yeah,
worldwide for 62 weeks. You know what
that's
I mean?
crazy.
You
That's
know,
crazy.
we talking about a full year and 10 weeks.
Right.
And
Yeah.
you know, when you #1 in gospel, when you #1 in hip hop soul, when you #1 in alternative hip hop, when you #1 in jazz gospel,
Yeah.
praise and worship. And he's like, man, I used to get letters from people that was in prison doing massive years, and they tell me Never Would Have Made It. Kind of took them through it, kind of got their mind right, made me start reading the Bible, made it me made me kind of really get so intuitive with myself where I now have a righteous belief that could get me on a
Yeah.
righteous path so I can come home sooner than I thought. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? And so when you have people from behind that wall writing you about your art form and
Man.
thank you, that's brilliance, man. That's brilliance.
Man.
That's that's the power of God. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I do want to say, because I said something earlier that I want to not retract, but I want to add on to. I said that the last generation really believed that God was God. This generation really wants God, and I don't want nobody to feel like I'm saying, trying to compare that. But the last generation had leaders who were able to point people to God without judgment. We had people like Juanita Bynum. We had people like Kurt Franklin. We had people like Yolanda Adams and Mary, who were guiding that generation through their music. And this generation, we have a lot of people, but a lot of it is just emotional. You know, yeah. I know you probably see a lot of the preachers now who just want to make some viral content. A lot of preachers are not really rooted in helping people really get to their destination in life. Um, and so that's why I'm grateful for people who are people like Fantasia who are in the secular world, in the secular industry, but still pushes God and makes sure the people who listen to her know you may like when I see you, you may like lose to win, you may like free yourself, but I still love God. You know what I mean? That's why I love people like Kurt Franklin Steele, who makes music not just for the church, but for people who may not ever step into church. That's why I love people who are very transparent in their walk, because a lot of times we look, especially us now, social media makes people look like they're perfect. Especially people who say they are Christian. They'll get on social media and act as if they don't have any bad days, nothing ever goes wrong, everything always goes right. And people are watching like, wow, well, what am I doing wrong then? I'm praying. I, I'm listening to gospel music. I'm trying to read the Bible, but why are they having a perfect life and my life seems to be bad? But when people realize everybody has something that they have to pray a little harder about, everybody got something that they have to, maybe cry a little harder about. Once you become transparent with people, especially this generation loves transparency. I know people think that we love the lights and the camera and the action. And yeah, it's cool to be entertained, but a lot of this generation really wants people who can be real. I've I've had so many encounters where people who are younger than me, who may be even in the generation below me, was younger. This generation is what 2012 to 2024, right? Something like that. People who are younger than me were basically dealing with some of the same stuff I dealt with. I had to be real with them, and I tell them, you're not the only one. There's a lot of other people who are going through something, who are dealing with something, and yeah, it may seem like your life is the worst life out here, but I promise you, it's not. And if you connect with somebody else, maybe y'all can help each other. That's what it's about. God created this world for community. We're not supposed to be out here trying to fight life alone. So find your community, and that's another reason why I made the internet cousin trend or whatever people may say, calling. I made that up because I wanted people to know that we are all connected. We are
And
all connected by
in some
something.
way, shape, fashion, or form. You're
In
right.
some way, shape, fashion, or form, we are all connected. And we all are experiencing the same life through different paths. And it's the same thing. You may be fighting one thing that I may not be fighting, but we both fighting something. If we get together, you can help me. You can show me something, and I can show you something that may help you on your journey. That's why the Bible says iron sharpens iron, because we have to be able to help each other. And so this generation really needs a lot of community. Social media has made it to where we can retract. We don't have to talk to each other. I can text you. I ain't got to call you. I can email you. I don't have to. I don't have to pull up to your house. You know, I can tell you happy birthday through a Facebook post. I don't have to call and say happy birthday. You know, I can look at the family reunion on live. I don't have to pull up to the family reunion no more. You get what I mean? And
Right.
so it has made community a lot less apparent, evident. And when you lack community and when you start secluding yourself, your mind start going into areas where you begin to psych yourself into anxiety and depression. We can go on a whole tangent about that as well. But we have to have community. We have to have community.
Right, right. So, man, we live here on the Chatterbox with King Jacob with none other than Mr. Leaphart, and we're gonna take a quick commercial break, and we'll be right back.
When God is positioning you into the next dimension of your call, the next dimension of your identity, as he unfolds and reveals who he's called you to be, you will always have a Samuel. You need someone who understands where you're coming from, but also someone who understands who you must become. Which means that you're going to have to be willing to risk being seen. It's always so much easier when we have friendships that exist in silos. I've got one group of friends who understand where I came from. And I've got another group of friends who understand my potential. But I'm at my best when I'm in an environment with people who understand that where I've come from is not where I can stay. And where I am, I must keep pressing forward because there's still something that God wants to do in me. And so if we are not careful, we will find ourselves comfortable in friendships that celebrate our mediocrity, but prevent us from growing into God's next dimension. I don't know about you, but I need friendships that speak to my anointing. I don't know about you, but I need relationships that speak to my anointing. My husband, I love him so much. Not only do we get to cuddle and watch movies and do life together, what I love more than anything is that he challenges my anointing, that he challenges me to rise to the call that God has placed over my life. And until
All right, we're back. We're back. So that was, the ever so powerful Sarah Jakes, man. Friendships come in silos. The friend that who you are, know what you'll become, and the friend that challenges your anointings because they know that God got some on you. And so we all need those friends that challenges the anointings and bring that greatness out of us. They are people sent by God. So so
Yeah.
you so we all need that, man. So 3 times author. And so let's talk about the emotional, the mental capacity, the intellectual capacity of your very first book.
Oh, that book was crazy. I remember I had just dropped out of college the first time. Well, I won't drop out of college no more, but the first time I went to college, I dropped out of college. And after about 5 or 6 months, and the reason why I dropped out was because one day I was sitting in my room. Y'all, when I tell you, I've always, and I think the reason why I have such a, even when I wasn't perfect, because I don't want people to ever think God talks to perfect people. He'll talk to you in any situation you're in. You just have to be willing to listen. But my auntie, God rest her soul, my auntie Debbie, I would sit over her house and we would literally talk all day. And I can even recite some of the conversations. And I remember walking up to her house some days and she would just have her Bible open, just reading her Bible. And at that time I was like, what you doing? It's not Sunday. We're not supposed to be reading the Bible. I was younger and I was just, that's what I was thinking. And she instilled in me one thing for sure and two things for certain. Sundays are not just the only days you need to hear from God. So you need to make every opportunity to hear from Him. And so I grew up with that in my mind, always hearing from God, always, always. And He always comes in at the worst times when I feel like it does the worst times. He comes in and He reminds me of what my auntie said. He reminds me even what my grandma said sometimes. And so I just dropped out of college and I was like, okay, I gotta go home, but I gotta do something. I don't want to just be, just sitting around. What is it that I need to do? Okay, what is it that I need to do? So I called my grandmother and I said, I'm ready to come home. I'm ready to come home. I'm ready to come home. And so after I prayed about it, and after I prayed about it, I knew it was time for me to go because that wasn't serving my purpose. That school where I was at wasn't serving my purpose. And God was like, I got something so much bigger for you than what you think. And I moved, I went to college out of emotion. You just get out of high school, you seeing your friends go to college. You're like, I don't want to be that one that ain't going to college. But I knew that I had something so much bigger than me that a 9 to 5 wouldn't do. So I said, okay, I have to do something. God, what is it that you want me to do? So I moved out of emotion and went to college. And then when I got there, and we moved out of emotion, God, we'll see it. I didn't do good at all. And so I went back home, and about a month or two went by, and I was like, I gotta do something. So I was just praying, I was crying, like I was like, okay, God, you gotta say something. Embarrassed, and God said, write a book. Write a book? What? What? I don't know nobody who's ever written a book. I have never written a book. What are you saying? And so I started studying the art of book writing. I started watching YouTube videos. I was getting up early in the morning and I was just studying. And I started writing the first book. And what's so crazy is that same year, it was 2021. That same year, I had just got from college and it was around December time. I was writing a book. I had started writing that book around November, December. And when I started writing the book, I knew that book was something that needed to be said because attacks started coming. I had started getting this pain in my throat, and I was like, "What is that?" And I was just thinking it might be COVID. Oh gosh, um, I have to be in quarantine for 7 days. Cool, 14 days at a time because it was at the beginning. So 14 days. I got tested. It wasn't COVID. I said, okay, well, might be the flu. So I got tested for the flu. It wasn't the flu. I had an abscess on my tonsil, and
Wow.
the nurse looked at me. I remember that day, ooh, it gives me chills even now. And she looked at me, and she was like, so it was a newer nurse. And so at that point, I'm like, okay, she knew this might be her first time saying something like this. Brought in an older nurse, but she wasn't older, but she was like a more OG nurse. And the OG nurse looked in. She was like, "Oh my gosh, that is huge." And then she began to tell me. She said, "I'm glad you came in today because this thing is literally covering your this." She said this abscess is about to cover your airway. And she was like, if you would have went to sleep tonight, you never would have known if you would have been able to breathe and wake up the next day. And I literally bawled. As soon as they left, I bawled and I cried and I called my grandmother. And thank God for grandmothers who pray. My grandmother was like, you know a God who is a healer. And she started praying. She started giving me scriptures. And then I called my mother. And my mother, she's still trying to get there, but she was panicking. My mother was panicking. And I said, I'm just going to drive to you and then we can go to the hospital. And I sat there for about, oh gosh, 3 or 4, maybe even 5 hours at the hospital. And when I got the doctor came in, checked, and the doctor said, we can't do any surgery because it's too deep. but we can get your tonsil removed if you want it. And I said, nah, I don't think I want to. So while I was writing my first book, God was already giving me the words for my second book, which was I Got Something to Say. And that's the reason why that book title is that, because I literally couldn't talk. I had stayed that abscess was on my tongue, so I couldn't talk, I couldn't eat, none of that. I could barely breathe. Like, it was really up there. And
So,
so
explaining your first book,
mhm.
if you had to give somebody a brief mission statement for your first book, what would that be?
That first book was being able to understand that life is gonna happen, but your successes will also happen if you understand how to handle both of them. Because I that first book I talked about a little bit about my childhood, but I really talked about where I was at that point. Um, and I was real. I had dropped out of college, and I was just like, look, I'm at this point to where I thought this was gonna be my life, but this is my life right now. And
Well, for me, when it comes to you, if I had to give that first book a one statement,
mhm.
my past has embraced my future.
Okay, okay, I like that.
Hmm.
I like that, and I like that because the second, and I would say that as well, but I really believe that my second book did it, but my first book, to me, it was just real and raw, and that's what I loved about it. It was real and raw. I didn't really know what I was doing. I didn't really know, too many connections on how to do this, but I literally just prayed, and God gave me all the strategies for that book. Like, I was
But
literally,
but you got the connection. You got an intellectual thought process.
well, yeah,
You have a different mindset, and you have the wisdom of God.
yeah.
As in the I read, it say strength, courage, and wisdom.
Yeah. Oh
You
yeah.
know what I mean? Yeah.
That's
So
true. That's true. And thank you for saying that. But at that time, I didn't. I was.
you didn't understand it at that
I didn't
time, but but
understand
but
it,
you had it though.
but I
You know.
had it. Yeah. I didn't understand it, but I had it. And it's so crazy how God can still use you, even when you personally don't understand the gift that you have. Oh man, it's so crazy how God can literally use you for what He wants, and you just do what He tells you to do. But it's like, I ain't getting it. I don't understand what's happening. I don't understand how this. I don't understand how to keep going. But like, literally every step He shows you what to do. And I remember, I had went to the Starbucks, and God told me. He said, "Ask the manager, can you hold your book signing here?" What? What? This is my first book. How am I gonna have a book signing right in the middle of Batesburg? Ask her. Cool. After she said, absolutely. Can I get a copy of your book? To this day, my grandmother called me about 2 or 3 weeks ago, and she said, "You know that lady at Starbucks still asks about you." She said, "Oh my gosh, that's my baby. Please let him know I'm super proud of him." And I'm like, and what I didn't realize was God wanted me there to do that because of the impact that not me, but His Spirit left onto her. And it was just so amazing. And it's still so amazing seeing so many people text me out of the blue. Oh, I love you, man. Thank you so much. Thank you. And it's people that I grew up with. And I know a lot of people like when people they don't know all around the country acknowledge them. But when people I know who I've seen grow up, who I've seen through a lot of stages in their life, say, bro, thank you for encouraging me. Two people that I know have come to me and said, thank you so much because you've helped me be more confident in just posting myself, being more out, being out there, wanting to be on social media. And it's like, thank you. God, this is what I do it for. I want people to know that you can do it. It's literally nothing that we can't do unless except we put our trust in God. There is nothing that we can do. There is nothing that
You're
we
right.
can't, because we
Absolutely.
can do all things through Christ. And I really take those scriptures and those statements with me everywhere in life because it has shown me that we can do all things. I am literally in California right now. A boy from South Carolina.
Yeah.
A boy from South Carolina, a 21-year-old black boy from South Carolina who has written 3 books. And sometimes I have to remind myself, like, this ain't you, this is all God. And so I want people to know, especially with this book, that first book, it was showing people that trust in God and know that whatever you're going through, God is going to use that for your future. But this book right here, history is it's about a little boy, that little boy that you see on that cover, and how he didn't know what he had in him. But as he grew up, and as he went through stuff, and as he saw stuff, and as he learned stuff, it became like a second nature to him.
Mm.
Like it's so crazy, and sometimes I get teary eyed just thinking about all of the things that I felt like was God picking on me, but it was just God like using me at that time. It was just
That's right.
God testing, not even testing me, but strengthening me, letting me know that it's only gonna get harder from here. Because the more levels I put you on, the more you gonna have to fight. But if you get this test in the bag, and you just let me cook up what I got cooking up for you, you good. And I'm at that place now where every test, every trial that tries to come my way, God cooking up something for me. God cooking up something for me. My
That's
faith
good.
is good.
I love
I'm
it. I
good.
love it, man. And just tapping in, we have Minister Constance Long, who's tapping in with us, which
Yeah.
she is my big cuz, and we got my man Drizzy Panda out of Brooklyn, New York, tapping in.
What's up,
Appreciate
y'all?
y'all. Appreciate y'all tapping in, man. And so we talking about your books, and somebody asked me this a while back last year. They was like, Jacob, on this earth that we live on, how do people understand the spiritual concept, the anointing concept of the Proverbs man and the Proverbs woman?
Yeah.
I said, woof,
Oh
man,
God.
man, boy, listen,
Oh
man,
God.
I tell people, man, if I had to be like anybody in the Bible, I want to have a heart like Paul, a heart that knows no
Yeah.
evil.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about? A heart
Yeah.
that knows no ill. And I want to have that faith. Like Job. The flesh fell off Job's bones. His wife told him that he should give up on God. You know what I mean? You foolish woman, you know not what you say. So, with that being said, it's been a lot of people tell you that you should give up on what you're
Yeah.
doing now,
Yeah.
and now you, a little small town country boy
Country boy.
from a country boy from Batesburg, Leesville, South Carolina, and now you're in Los Angeles, California.
Yeah.
You know, you're almost 3,000 miles away. You know what I mean?
Mm.
You know what I'm talking about. You 3,000 miles away,
Yeah.
and thank you, Minister Long. I'm glad that you enjoyed it, and we appreciate you tapping in. We really
Yeah.
do.
Thank you.
And so with that being said, I tell people we have to inspire to stay inspired. So if I can inspire you, that means I'm going to stay inspired to keep
Right.
impacting, you know,
Right.
uh, people of that may think that don't nobody care, or somebody that maybe grew up without a father, or somebody feel like the world don't accept them, because they
Yeah.
don't look this way, they don't look that way,
Yeah.
you know. And I tell people that have PTSD is not only because they have been through gun violence, but PTSD is a form of skin color, racism that sends people through anxiety, depression, because you may not be raised where they're at, or you may not have the best of the best, and you may get a job because they don't like the way you look, somebody fresh from college get the job and they have no experience, but you've been doing it for 12 years. That you're not the person that they can take to the Fortune 500 meeting or to the
Yeah.
round table, because of the way you look. So that's a form of racial PTSD. And for you, what you've seen on TV in the last 10 years,
Mm,
as far as what you've seen black and brown people go through,
yeah.
how would you address somebody that's dealing with that? What would you tell them to motivate them, to uplift them, and to encourage them?
Be exactly who you are, because who you are is needed in every space that God allows you to be in. When I first got here, and I didn't even realize I had PTSD from how I looked until I got here. And when I got here, I realized, or I noticed myself putting hats on a lot. I noticed myself trying to take the country twang out of my voice. And I realized, whoa, wait, I'm trying to hide my blackness for what? People want this. There are people who are buying this. And I remember I was watching Jennifer Lewis. I was watching her. I was watching her interview on The Breakfast Club.
Right,
And she had this big afro on, and she was talking about the pastor who had molested her, and she was just cussing up a storm and giving. I mean, she was just doing all that she normally do. The auntie, the black mother of Hollywood, what she normally does, and people were just loving her. And I realized people love her because she's authentic. And so I started digging into myself. I'm like, okay, well, why do I? Who am I? You know, because we can't be authentically who we are until we know who we are. And of course, I'm 21 years old. I'm still learning myself every day. I'm still learning new stuff about me, old stuff about me that I didn't know then. And so, to anybody who's going through that, be yourself. Man, y'all see now, the day my afro was just perfect. You see now it's a little mushed all to the side and everything. But guess what? I'm still only doing it. I'm letting it show because this is who I am.
right.
And that's just I'm allowing my country twang to go before me in every room I go in. I'm in California now. And so of course there's a lot of people who are prestigious and proper and they have this nice, eloquent voice. But a lot of people love my country voice.
Man,
And we
let me
get
tell you something, man.
a
Let
lot
me
of
tell
people
you
love
something. When I lived in D.C., when I was 25, 26 years old, 27 years old, man, when females used to hear me talk, they
it.
they was like, Lord have mercy, where you from?
Where
You
you
know what
from?
I mean? And but it was just like they they really never seen nobody move like I move.
Yeah.
It was suave that I always had manners that really opened up doors that, say good morning, how you doing? And you know,
Yeah.
and how was your weekend? And so man, that those morals, those
Yeah.
manners, um, that's what we was raised with in the South, man. People from different areas will tell you that they love that Southern hospitality. They come to Myrtle Beach, they come to Charleston,
Yeah.
Greenville, Columbia. They don't even want to go back home. They might
Right.
come
Yeah.
week or 2 week vacation. They be like, "Oh my God, man, I really don't want to go back to where I got to go."
Yeah.
So just be authentically you.
Yeah, man.
God made you a unique individual. So keep on being uniquely, so that can impact somebody else's spirit, for real, for real.
Yeah.
And what's up, Clarence, man? Thank you for tapping in, man. Thank you for tapping in. And so, man, you as a young person, you're a leader. You're very impactful. And so, as far whether it's motivational speaking, whether it's singing and songwriting, whereas being an author or teaching a creative writing class, or being that favorite internet cousin that
Yeah.
put together that warm and that graceful and that kind content, man.
Yeah.
Just keep doing what you have to do to strive for excellence, and just keep on inspiring somebody, because I tell people all the time, And like my man Senior G, shout out to him, one of the operations directors for Village Global Network. I said, Senior, what's up, man? He said, we woke up this morning.
Come on.
You know
Come on.
that every time you talk to him, he goes. I said, "What's up with you, man?" He said, "We woke up this morning."
Come on.
So,
Woke up this
so
morning.
that just they just let me know, man, that a person of faith, a person of encouragement, a person of wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, and that is what we all need. You know,
Yes.
we we all need that encouragement, no matter how much money you got, no matter how fly you dress. The people who are fly and dress to impress all the time, those are the most hurtful people. I heard a football player say, man, I done made millions of dollars and I can't find no good people. What?
Okay. Yeah.
You
Yeah.
gotta ask God to guide your footsteps in the righteous path so He can put those people in your life. So
Yeah.
man, but man, we're almost out of time, so I just want to say, man, you're not tapped in with King Jacob in the Chatterbox with live with Jamarius Leaphart today, man. This podcast will stream in 191 countries and powered by the Village Global Network. And man, we tapped in so online with additional monitoring by online radio box. And just keep on. And shout out to Exquisite PR firm for sponsoring this podcast as well.
Yes.
And it make you feel good when somebody can sponsor you.
Yeah.
It make you feel good when somebody see the value in you. And
Yeah.
so, man, I just want you to give out your social media links, tell them where they can find your books at, and tell them what you got going on next.
First, I just want to say I'm so proud of you, man, because seeing other men, especially black men, black people in general, in this space, taking up space in this industry where a lot of people don't want to see us, or a lot of people try to snag us off. It's amazing to see, and especially with your consistency and how you pour out all the information that you have. I appreciate it and know that it does not go unnoticed. And
Yes,
I
sir.
honor you. I honor you because I always love to honor podcast hosts, people who are in this industry who came before me, whether their names are in lights or whether their names are behind the scenes. I honor you. So I thank you for this, and I thank you for allowing me your platform. But you can find me on Facebook, Jamarius Leaphart. You can find me on Instagram at Jamarius T Leaphart. Um, you can find me on Snapchat at Turkey Turkey 141412. And
All
you can
right.
find
Hey,
my books at Barnes and Noble and Amazon.
Barnes and Noble and Amazon. And from what I hear about this book, and I'm gonna have to go copy, but from what I hear, he was just on VPR radio, man, and shout out to them over there.
Shout out to my
They said
family.
this book is something serious. It's
Yes,
and you're
it's
in
something
for a
serious.
treat. So with that being said, man, we just want to know one more thing from you.
Mhm.
The internet cousin got to get the podcast back up and running, man. What's up?
Look, I am working on it now. I promise y'all, I'm working on it now. I know a lot of people have been asking me, like, bro, where you at? I did a little poll on Instagram, and I said, would y'all like some new music right now, another book, or would y'all want a podcast? Music and podcast is right here, right here. So I'm working on this podcast because a lot of people are looking for it. So Turk Talks, well, it might not be Turk Talks when it comes back, but my podcast is coming back soon, y'all. Sooner than you think.
Okay. Let me know, man, cause
I
I
will.
got some.
Yeah.
I got plenty of ways I can help you with that, man. For sure, man. So, but folks, until the next time, I want y'all to stay blessed, stay encouraged, and most of all, man, keep the peace alive, man, because in order for all of us to move forward, we must unify.
Yeah.
And the world is a cold place, but God is love, and love will always conquer all. Peace and
Yeah.
blessings. We out.
Come on. Love y'all.